welcome to my very first webinar, actually, about this resetting your parent-child connection, your parent-child dynamics, because this is such an important relationship in our lives, whether you are the parent or you are the child. And being able to maintain that connection is so important for families as we go through life and encounter experiences and actually go through the same events, but have completely different perspectives on what is happening. And when we can go through those together and support each other, it just helps us know we're not alone. When we have a reliable way of doing that, it gives us a pillar to rely on. And that is what I love about this work. So I am going to share my screen or and we'll get going. I hope you all have your cards and that you've cut them out for the work the play that we'll be doing a little later. So today I am going to be talking to you about resetting your parent-child connection. I like to think of it as once you've heard this before, once you've seen something or heard something, you can't unsee it or unhear it. And this is like that, but in such a positive way. And I look forward to sharing this with you. So I am going to tell you about my proven framework for reestablishing the connection with your child or your parent so that you can rebuild or build more deeply the relationship that your family needs. This is so important these days. It is a stressful time and we're encountering so many changes. I don't know one person who is not undergoing major change. And when we have connection and when we can maintain it, it helps us all get through it. And those family relationships are so key to them being able to do that so often. So you are in the right place if you are a parent and dealing with repeated patterns of conflict. But it's also for those parents that have a pretty good connection with their child, but there is no preventing them from experiencing major disruptions in their life, stressors that they don't know how to deal with. And you're trying to help them regulate themselves through that. And this is just the thing you need to start on that journey of being able to reset your connection so that it is really solid. And if you are actually the adult child with perhaps an aging parent and trying to shift the behavior patterns that have been going on for decades. So I didn't have a poll for this. I probably will next time. But that is okay. And regardless of your situation, I really am here to help. This is what I love doing. And by the end of today or this evening, you will leave with a new perspective on the relationship that you have with your child or parent. We will go through some techniques. We will observe things for guiding the dynamics in the relationship that you will be able to implement tonight after this call, tomorrow morning when you get up and see this person, or the next time you're on the phone with them. And at the end of this presentation, I will be presenting an offer to keep working with me if you would like to do that. But I do want to let you know that we will be doing some work that I actually do with people inside my program, just to give you a real taste of what it's like. So this training has completely changed my life. What I do with this work has impacted my relationship with my children and my parents. So, for example, I look at the way they behave in a much more detached way. I used to think, why are you doing that to me? But now I see that they're doing things for them, not to me. There are smoother interactions between me and all of them because I can guide the flow of that interaction. And I know how to bring out the best in each person, which is really about acknowledging who they are. I mean, we are all better in that way. When someone really sees us and behaves in that way that we feel truly seen, things just go better. And I'm able to do that by using these tools. And honestly, I feel proud of myself as a parent and a child. And I am human. So I don't even beat myself up anymore when I forget what I've learned through this training and, respond in a way that is just not the best. But it is so much better than it used to be. So I'm Panda. This is a picture of me many, many, many years ago with my mom here and my two daughters. They were very young. I was raised in a relatively traditional Chinese American household. Both of my parents were born here in the US. And honestly, I had no clue about parent child dynamics. I'm fairly certain my parents didn't either. And when I had my two daughters, I was pretty good, I'd say very good at the logistics of raising them. But honestly, I was pretty lost as a mom, as a mother, to bring forth who they are. And when they were very, very young, I used to tell them, I'm the babysitter. And they still remember this. And I would tell them, you did not come with instruction manuals. And at the same time now, I am the adult child of aging parents. And I am and I will be providing more support. It has been an interesting shift to watch this change in them where they, and when I was young, so completely capable, and things are changing. And I can see that I will be a caregiver soon. And having a strong connection that helps me navigate that connection more smoothly without responding to behaviors that used to really trigger me will help me be the caregiver, the child, the family member that I really want to be. And just treat them like a human that I would treat any other human being. And in the past, connection used to feel pretty impossible at times. Middle school, adolescence, honestly, high school was a breeze for my girls, but getting there was really hard. I was able to talk to them up until middle school, and then one of them just completely disappeared. And I did not know how to reach her, and something was wrong, and I had no idea how to get her to talk to me. There were high school and college breakups that I wanted to support them in. I had no idea how to do that. I never even had a boyfriend in high school. So what did I know about that? One of my children was assaulted. And again, another huge stressor that there was no way I could prevent that. But I would have loved to have had some tools to help them. And there were other situations. And so just having anything that I could rely on that would help me build connection was something I could have really used. And then I became an astrologer. And my motivation for it was wanting to learn about myself. What I found was that I ended up learning about everyone else. And fast forward to today, here's me very recently with my dad and my two daughters who are grown now. I know I cannot prevent any of the difficult situations they will encounter, but I am their mom, and I want to know how to help them tap into who they are in any moment. And I can know what their next step is, what they are going to feel on the other side of this, what they are aiming for, and I can figure out how to actually help them get there with these tools. And I know that they feel heard and seen by the way I treat them by knowing these tools. And this is all because I know that they live life differently than I do. So there may be times when you don't have connection. And what would it be like to have your child actually approach you with what's on their mind? Do you know how to create the space for that? What if you actually knew what their next step was when they got stuck and how you could guide them there? And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, right? But what if you knew what that looked like? And what if you could look at your parents' behavior not as something that they are doing to annoy you or frustrate you, but really look at it from a more compassionate perspective and just see them as a unique human being with their own needs and guide them through that as well. So if that is you, I can definitely help. So a little bit about how this training is going to work today is I'm going to talk about why it is that we lose connection, because certainly, we started off with one. And then we're going to talk about your unique tools. And then I'm going to talk about how we use them as the reset, how they come together to do what I call this reset. And then, as I mentioned, I'll talk about how to keep working with me if you'd like, as well as answer some Q&A. So, why do we lose connection? It is, we are all on this journey together with a set of tools. So imagine that you are on this journey with a backpack of tools. And inside that tool, and this is your set of tools for your entire life, you've got all kinds of things in there. But one of these tools is a knife. Now, there are many, many different types of knives. And one, my favorite, is a chef's knife because I love chopping vegetables. And that is a great tool for chopping vegetables. And if I go out on a hike and my only tool is that chef's knife, if I want to whittle something like a stick, that is going to be a very difficult task with my chef's knife. And so I go along and I encounter this situation where all I have is that, but someone else comes along and says, oh, well, you can just, here, see how I do it? And they've got the perfect knife for that. I'm like, you totally do not understand. Are we even talking about the same thing? And as we go through life, we have our set of tools and we encounter situations where one person sees it as so easy and so obvious how to deal with it, and the other person does not. And when we can't see things from the other person's perspective, it's like there is this break. And this work will help you regain and hopefully not lose that connection as easily. So let's have some fun and pull out your cards. I am going to show you my screen so that you can follow along with your own cards. And the cards that you got from registering for the webinar are your tool cards, as well as tool cards for your parent or child. So you have 12 cards, 6 for you and 6 for your parent or child. And I call them tool cards because we are all born with natural talents or tools. And what is different for each of us is the way in which you naturally use the tool and when you use it. And what you have are a subset of the actual cards that I use in my program. And the 6 that you have are the tools that people can observe about us. So in this training, I want to give you a real taste of what you can learn through this work. And what people find is that they can use what this stuff in the webinar the next time they see their parent or child. And one more thing, you received a link to a workbook as part of the webinar training, and you won't need to use that now. You can download it and use it to reinforce what you'll learn in the training. So let's just look at your cards here, and I'll explain what's on them. So right here, you can see one of mine. It's my mindful action. That is what's listed on top, and each card that you have says something different. And underneath that, in orange, right there, you'll see degrees. That's what the little circle means. And then minutes. So for example, 17 degrees and then 34 minutes. And then there's an astrological sign, but we won't be focusing on that today. And I'll mostly be calling your attention to the degrees during the training. That's the first number. And the second number, there are 60 minutes in every degree. So it helps give a little bit of precision. And the sentence underneath describes how you use this tool. So for me, the way I always tend to mindfully act is through matching the energy of another person. So take your 6 cards, and what I'd like you to do is sort them into 3 piles based on the number of degrees. And the 3 piles are 0 to 9, 10 to 19, and 20 to 29. So as you can see, I'm doing this here, and I've got 3 columns here, 0 to 9, 10 to 19, I only have 1 card, and 20 to 29. And while I've done mine, hopefully you are doing yours at the same time. And then within each column, sort them in ascending order. So again, you can see I've got 01, 04, and 09. And if you have 2 tools with the same degree, that's where the minutes come in to decide which one comes first. And then I only have 1 here in the 10 to 19 column. And in the 20 to 29, I have 2, and first the 23, then the 27. And as you read the sentences, here are the sentences, from the lowest tool to the highest tool, you are actually articulating your natural progression of life. So take a moment to do this. Start with your lowest tool, and since you have them in ascending order through the 3 piles, read them aloud to yourself, saying the word then between each sentence. So I appreciate and welcome learning something new or sharing what I know. Then I put my heart into learning something new or sharing what I know. And all the way until you read your last card. Okay, so think about what resonates for you. People are often surprised and not surprised. And they're not surprised because this is actually something that they often know or feel inside. And what I have found for so many people is that they are often astonished that this natural progression can be articulated. So if you have any tools in the 0 to 9 column, these are your initiating tools. This is how you get going. I call this cocktail party energy because it's easy, surface energy. It's nothing too serious for you. Doing these things is not tiring. In fact, this may be how you relax or procrastinate. And it's definitely how you get a fresh start. If you have any tools in the 10 to 19 column, here I have only one tool, these are your sustaining or executing tools. These are comfortable daily work kind of tools. And hopefully you do get to use them in your daily life and at work. And they're meaningful, but not exhausting. And it can feel like you're getting into a groove when you use these tools. It just feels like you're getting stuff done, but it's not too much for you. And finally, if you have any tools in the 20 to 29 column, these are your integrating tools. These are very deep energy. You really care about these tools. They're the most informed parts of you. And because of that, when you are experiencing or trying out something new, or it feels like it's unfamiliar, it takes you forever to access them. And you also can't use them all the time because they take a lot out of you. So for me, for example, if someone asks me what I think about something new that I'm like trying out, I'll say, I have no idea. And inside, I'm like, give me some time with it. And I'll come up with something. But right now, I have nothing to say. And think about that for yourself, whether that feels true. And so if these tools in ascending order from 0 to 29 degrees are the natural progression of life, or the order in which you experience life, what is the tool that you start every experience with that people observe about you? In other words, what is the lowest degree tool that you have? And so for me, the lowest tool is appreciation. That's the first thing I meet the world with, is enjoying things or welcoming and liking things. And that's good to know. Like, that's how I get going. And the tool that integrates all of my other experiences, because everything leads to the next. And for me, the highest tool that I have, the one that integrates everything I've experienced, is processing at 27 degrees. And this is my very last tool. So noticing how many initiating tools you have, how many executing or sustaining tools you have, how many integrating tools you have, it's kind of an interesting way to think about how you approach life. And every single person is different. And I'll just mention here that in my program, I talk about 14 tools that everyone has. And most of them are not quite as observable as these tools here. They start to describe what motivates us and other things that contribute to our personality. Okay, so let's pull out the cards for your child or your parent, and let's do the same exercise. And we'll sort them into 0 to 9, 10 to 19, and 20 to 29. And we'll put each of those piles into ascending order. And like we did for your tools, just take a moment and read those sentences in order, from lowest to highest. And you'll notice that in some way it is different, right? It could be different styles in the way they use their tools, which would indicate, be indicated by what it says in the sentence. But it could also be a different action a different order than you have. And they may have a different number of initiating, sustaining, and integrating tools. So that might make sense when you think about your child. Wow, they either have a hard time getting going and it seems to take them forever to get stuff done. That might be why. Or perhaps they're a whirlwind with a lot of initiating energy. And then it's sort of a little tougher for them to finish off stuff. And what tool do they initiate with? What is their lowest tool? What is the tool that integrates all of their other tools? So this gives you a little glimpse into their world, how they experience life. I hope it feels eye-opening, maybe even heart-opening. And now let's do something that brings it all together. And as I mentioned, this is for parent-child relationships. And I'm currently both a parent to 2 children and a child of 2 parents. So I'm going to give some examples using both sides of the parent-child relationship. So first, let's look at me with my daughters. So here I've taken my cards and I've put them in one column from lowest to highest in the middle. And I have each of my daughter's cards on either side of my cards. So do the same with your cards and your parents' or your child's cards. So put them in 2 columns, one for each of you, one column for each of you. Put the lowest card on top and then the highest card at the bottom. And as much as you can, I have limited space here, try to line up similar degrees. It's almost like you're creating a zipper effect to see how your experiences integrate together. And there are a lot of things we do inside the program to look at how the relationship works, but today we're going to look at just a few things. So, for example, who is the initiator in the relationship? Who gets things going? In other words, who has the lowest tool in the relationship? And with both daughters, I'm the initiator in terms of getting things going. My lowest tool is at 1 degree, 36 minutes. I have one daughter whose first tool is 4 degrees, 42 minutes. And not only that, she's stepping away. It's almost like I can't find her. And I will tell you that is exactly what it feels like. And my other daughter has mindful action, but much later than my appreciation at 5 degrees, 41 minutes. And what this means is that if I'm going to wait for them to initiate anything, I will be waiting forever. I will always be the one. And I used to kind of make myself miserable asking, why am I always the one to get things going? And here is the answer. And, I can look at this in a different way. It's like the good part is that I get to put the stake in the ground and say, this is what I would like to do. And I get to make the first suggestion. So this helps me understand, this is how I get things going. And they get to rest, actually. And as they become older, I recognize that other people do the same thing for them. And now I just have a completely different view on it. So let's look at the other end. Who closes things out? And notice that I have one daughter at 21 degrees, 53 minutes here, Taurus. This is her very last tool. She is totally fine going to bed early. And this fits her instinct to be in her body. My other daughter has processing as her last tool. And I do too, right here at 27 degrees. But hers is at 29 degrees, while mine is at 27 degrees. So in general, it takes her longer to figure out what she wants to say. It takes her longer than it takes me to figure it out. And so what I do know is that I can initiate the ability for her to start saying something by just saying, "Sweetie pie, I'm here whenever you want to talk." And I'm going to have to wait a little bit, but not too long, before she'll have gathered her thoughts and is ready to say something to me. And when she was in high school, I used to have to get up at 4 a.m. to go to work. And they knew I tried to get to bed by 10 p.m. But inevitably, this daughter would be ready to talk at 10:30. So 30 minutes after I wanted to be in bed. And if I wanted to have the connection with her, I had to deal with the discomfort of being there while she talked to me. And that's the thing with our children, with our family. They stretch us to do things we would not normally do. And we have choices in how we handle it every time. And we get a fresh start every time. And sometimes I can set a boundary. Other times it's clear I have got to be there. But now I'm aware of this. And even at this age, there is a time I know where she needs to talk to me, and I'm just going to be there. And so this is the kind of thing we do inside the program. And I love helping people prepare for these things and having strategies for the discomfort and working through the discomfort of having to do things that aren't natural to them. And that's true for all of us. So let's take a quick look. If you brought your parents into this webinar training, let's take a look at that. So here I am again in the middle with top being the lowest degree, bottom, highest degree. And I'll be honest, I've got my mom here on one side, my dad on the other. And we can do some of the same sorts of things where we look at who initiates and who closes out the relationship by looking at the lowest and the highest, just so you're aware of how that dynamic works. And possibly it's different in each relationship. But in terms of parenting, what is so interesting for this situation is my dad has this whole clump of tools in the initiating phase. And my whole life, he was the parent who helped me get going, who put things into motion, got me excited about studying, frankly, setting goals for me that I didn't achieve, but that's fine. It took a lifetime to figure that out. And then my mom was more on the execution sustaining side. She's actually the one who, for example, taught me to drive and took me out there and did a lot of that work. And this is a great way of looking at how you tag team and take turns to take care of someone or take care of a relationship. But it's useful to see who's got tools for what and how they match up. One interesting thing also, and we do so much of this work inside the program, is looking where things do match up. So for example, both my dad and I step away at exactly the same time. I step away at 9.5 degrees. He steps away at 9.5 degrees. And there's even a picture of the two of us sitting in our own separate chairs, reading a book when I was 3 years old. One thing I want to point out about my dad is this huge gap between his primal instinct and his appreciation. It's primal instinct at 10 degrees and his appreciation 19 degrees later at 29.5 degrees. His whole life, if I ever asked him, "Do you like something?" he would say, "It's okay." And this used to drive me crazy because I thought I wasn't doing enough or finding the right thing for him to like. And now I understand that it's not about me. It takes a lot for him to really like something. And when he does finally say, "It's good," I know it means everything to him. But what is going on during that space between his primal instinct and appreciation? Well, hopefully someone is coming in to help him bridge that gap while he takes a rest or he sits and observes and learns from what's going on, because someone else can take the reins. And I can be one of those people. He can watch me doing my mindful action, for example. And, sometimes people are uncomfortable with that rest. They may have heard, you have to be busy all the time. But in fact, they need that break. And what we get to do in this situation for our parents or for anyone is, you know what? You say, "Okay, just take a break. I've got this for a while. And I'm going to draw you in when it's time." And for me, it would be to go through all these things. And then when I'm done processing, it's time for him to say, "You know what? Yeah, I like that." And so it's the same for our kids. When they have a gap, they need space, and we can support them in taking a rest. But at the same time, as they get older, it's also important that we help them step into using each of their tools. And these are tools that they get to use in every situation. And for them to become self-sufficient, well-functioning, and happy adults, it's so important that they become comfortable using those tools and talents that they were born with. And my mom, she steps away at a different time. And it's a little bit later. And she used to tell me that she felt so left out. And I wasn't doing anything to purposely leave her out. But now I really understand why. And, maybe I am sorry a little bit that I didn't make more of an effort to listen to what she wanted to bring to someone's attention. But it's something I get to do now. And that's really great. And as you can tell, it's something that's important to me. And I hope that there's some enlightenment as you look at your cards as well. But it's not natural for me to be there because I have a blank spot. But I get to sit in that discomfort of, because I care about her, to listen and to be there and understand who she is and support her in being who she is, especially now as she's getting older. And it is this understanding that is absolutely what I love about this work. So as you look at your cards, just know that there are 14 of them that we get to explore together. And there's just so much to look at in the relationship, so many ways to make connection. And, we look at things like, are you both active at the same time? When do you have gaps in activity? If, I have a gap while someone else is in action, that's actually a time I get to take a break, and vice versa. And this is called teamwork. We can hand off the baton at times. No one needs to be there all the time for everything. And, it also is a way to allow some grace in the relationship. I can see what tools I have to help someone use their tools acts at the same time. For example, this mindful action, as my mom works through this, I get to meet her and I can help her back up a little bit because I know how she got where she is now and then to move through, to get to her primal instinct. Mom, what system needs to be in place? What needs to happen here? And there are just so many opportunities to help reset our connection with the people in our lives, our parents, our children, and really anyone. So I hope that you have gotten a very interesting taste of what you can learn from using these tool cards, especially if you had 14 of them, where they are looking at some of your deeper energies. And it's so eye-opening to recognize the difference in experience from one person to the next, where you've lived together at some point in your life for many, many years and seen how you kind of live by the same rules. But wow, it's kind of crazy how different their experience was of that time together. So it is possible to reset this connection when we see how different this person experiences life. They have different tools. I didn't have one tool the same as my parent. Not only that, we use them at different times. Our mindful action, completely different times. And our pace of activity and rest are different. And when we learn to accommodate that and encourage them to take the rest or get active because we know what their next step is, then we are helping them be themselves. And by knowing these things, the connection that we have becomes a pillar that we can rely on during these stressful times when it's really hard to not be anything other than who we are. So I call this reset because there are really 5 steps to using this method. The first is to simply just recognize, hang on one second, I'm going to put my face up here. I can get there. I am so sorry. Can't figure out how to go to. Me there. There we go. Apologize. All right. So recognize is first just observing what is going on here. And as you get to know these tools and also know yourself, you recognize where you are in, are they in activity? Are they stuck because they're in a gap? Imagine my parent there in that huge gap when he has nothing until he is having a good time. Really, it takes him a long time to have a good time. And what are you doing at that time? That helps you recognize how to get them closer to that next step. And we can look at our energy and our default action and help guide that. So E is explore the tools. You can pull out your tool cards and recognize which ones are in play by observing what's happening. Do they seem stuck? Do they want to be in motion, in activity, but somehow they're in that gap? And what is in play for you at that time? See the connections. Are they initiating? Are they at the very beginning of a process? Are they kind of in the middle of getting something done? Are they having trouble finishing and into that integration and unable to get there? And that helps you narrow down, okay, where are you trying to get to? And how can I help you get there? And what tool, again, are they using or are they in the gap? And where are you in that? And then you can extend the invitation to recognize where they're trying to get to, and also whether they maybe need to take a step back. Let's back up. This isn't working. Let's back up a sec. Let's go back to that other tool that was just before and try a different way to move through this. And that is a tool available to us for ourselves as well as for guiding them. And then you get to take a breath because they will need a moment to respond. And however they respond is really up to them. Even when we are seen, when we are noticed, when we are acknowledged and know we're loved, we don't always respond in the way that we would want to or have the energy to. And their being seen and connected with is something that does help, them keep going. It is also a skill that requires practice. And if there has been no connection for a while, it may be hard for them to recognize that you are making this effort to do that. So one of my clients, Lori, as she's gone through this program, what she realized was how different she was experiencing life compared to her child. They have very similar tools, but the order was completely mixed up. And now it made so much sense to her about why things were happening in a different order. Like there was a connection, but then a complete disconnect on you do this, then you do that. Oh, no, that's not how they do it. But now she can coach them through that process that feels more natural and really is who they are. And that is so satisfying and such a relief when you see that path. And so it is possible to reset this parent-child connection. It's just that you need the tools and the way to do it. And so you have a choice right now. It is possible to, of course, just keep doing what you're doing. You can stay absolutely where you are and use trial and error to try to make connection. Honestly, that's how I was doing it for years. Therapy is another way. It's a pricier way to have connection. Multiple sessions, maybe over years, to try to get this all figured out. You can, of course, avoid triggering situations, but you're here because you want connection. And so I'm guessing that that's not the path that you really want to go down. And of course, you can always wing it when the next stressful situation or event comes along. But you've probably been doing these things. And how is that actually going for you? I can guarantee that what happens is it takes longer to find the connection. And in the meantime, what is happening to the relationship? Is it turning out? Is it happening the way you want? And so if you really choose now to develop that parent-child connection that your family needs, this reset method makes it very, very simple. And I would love to guide you step by step through how to do this so that both of you can feel seen, because you will know yourself better, you will know your needs, and you'll be able to use your tools, might be tough at times, to support your parent or child through all of the life events to come. These are tools that are useful for the rest of your time on Earth. And so you are invited to join me in this program that I call Reset, Your Parent-Child Connection. It is truly the only course that uses this method, these cards, to help you use both your experience as well as your child or your parents' experience of life to make connection, because you see how you weave your lives and your experiences together. And in just a few weeks, we have a 6-week program. You will understand the interplay of all 14 tools, not just the 6 we have here, but there are some 8 deeper kind of underlying tools that help drive our motivation for why we do things. And each one of you has a different way of doing that. You'll understand better the periods of activity and rest that you each have separately and how that plays out in the relationship. You'll be able to see how you flow, where there's nice little handoffs, but also where there is friction when tools come together and don't really mesh well. And we definitely go over lots of strategies for moving through certain situations, as well as how to back up and looking at how the two sets of experiences come together so you can help guide the connection. And there's so much more. So, like I said, it's like once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You cannot unsee how different the life experiences are. And it hopefully is very heart opening and just makes you want to build that connection even more. So, this is an opportunity to sign up now. Normally, this program is priced at $747, but not showing. Why is that not showing? Okay, I don't know if you guys are seeing it. Hopefully you're seeing it. And right now, if you sign up today, if you're not already a member of my program, you can get in for just 2 payments of $247. So it's a third off. And if you sign up today as a bonus, you'll get a 30-minute one-on-one session with me at the end of the program when you've learned all of these tips and strategies, and we will dive into your specific parent-child relationship. So you can ask questions about situations that have come up and like really what are techniques for navigating through those events. And so now Q&A, if you guys have any questions at all. One question I get frequently is, how long is this program? It is 6 weeks. It is, I think I'm doing 3 sessions on you as an individual, and then 3 sessions on the interaction in the between the two of you. The sessions are weekly, just 6 weeks in a row. The program will be starting up soon. You'll get all of that as soon as you sign up. I do 2 sessions live in one day, so that if you're in a different time zone, hopefully there is a time that works for you. And it's just 6 weeks, and there are recordings so that you can watch at your leisure and go back and do it again with your workbook. I do provide workbooks so that there's space to contemplate and recognize what's happening in your actual life with your relationship. And we come and we bring that back into the subsequent discussions. What so many people find is that we start to notice more. And I love exploring that and having people recognize that they can see the patterns themselves and how comfortable they can get with letting the person be who they are, and because that person's experience of life is perfect for them. And when it's time for you to step back, you can step back and let them do their thing. So, um, I love telling this one story about one client of mine who has used this technique to connect with their nephew. And their nephew lives on a different continent. And for various reasons, they were not able to see this nephew because of the pandemic. And the last time that she saw them, they were, I think, just 5 years old. And it's been 5 years. And they went to visit over the summer. And that child is now 10 years old, very different than a 5-year-old. But from using this work to look at that particular relationship, she was able to say things like, why don't you go off and you come back and wow us with, you know, just the right thing. It'll be perfect. And they had a bunch of visits together. And by the end of it, this child said to her, "You are just like my dad, but much more fun." And that was just the best. And just these tools gave my client this opportunity to have that connection almost immediately without having had the opportunity over 5 years to spend time with them in person. And that is just so great. And so, it is just a wonderful tool for looking at really any relationship. So, you can see change that quickly. And really, people start noticing interactions in every part of their life starting the next morning. So, this is stuff that you can implement right away. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to the webinar. This has been a lot of fun for me. I love sharing this work. And don't forget, if you sign up now and over the next, you'll get an email tomorrow. And if you sign up, frankly, by tomorrow night, you will be able to get the bonus. So thank you so much. And I will see you all inside the program.